All right, let's divide some rational numbers. So, our first slide, this would be your interactive notebook. This is going to be page 30. So yes, we're already on page 30. You can see I have it set up with a title at the top, my I can statement, and this is my harsh, really bad drawing of the two little handouts that I gave you during class that they get glued down, and these flaps. So let me draw these flaps right here. You do not glue those down. You want those to stay open and pivot and kind of flap up and down. I am including pictures that show you how to do that. Okay, so we're going to be writing underneath the flaps. So when you glue these down, you're only gluing in this part right here. You're not gluing down where I have the arrows. You're not gluing the flaps down. Same thing with the one on the bottom, the fractional numbers. So once I get those glued down, we've got some problems that we are working. The first one is we're going to divide two decimal numbers. Now, steps are, it says, number 1, move the decimal point over in the divisor. Number 2, move the decimal in the dividend the same number of spaces. Number 3, bring the decimal straight up. And number 4, follow the same sign rules as multiplication. So we have those sign rules. I believe those are on page 18. Yes, they are on page 18 or in our interactive notebook that we are taking down in class. So there we go. Those are the sign rules that it's talking about on number 4 there, step number 4. So let me get a color and let's start solving. So this problem right here, if I set it up, would look like this. It's dividing by 0.8. Now, the divisor is 8/10, 0.8. So I'm going to move this over here to make it a whole number. So the decimal moves 1 to the right. So if I do that, I've got to move the decimal in the dividend 1 to the right and bring it up. So I brought it up. So now then, how many times can, it's just a regular division problem, how many times can 8 go into 14? Well, that would be 1. So that would leave us 6 right there. I'm not going to pay attention to positive and negative signs right now because I don't need to complicate it. We'll get that in just a moment. So 8 into 62, well, 8 times 7 I know is 56. So that would be 6 left over. And now then, I can't go any further except that I can drop a 0 there and bring the 0 down. Well, 8, and I'm going to extend my line and keep going. 8 goes into 60 another 7 times. That's 56. That leaves me with 4. Drop another 0 in, drop it down. 8 goes into 40 5 times. So this one actually does terminate. It's a terminating decimal. The answer is 17.75. Now, if I do a negative divided by a positive, it's a negative answer. So it is negative 17.75 there. Okay. So now let's look at the opposite problem over here. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and set it up. I've got 0.21 as my divisor. My dividend is 0.56. So now I've got to move this one 2 spaces to the right. So that means I've got to move this one 2 spaces to the right. And I always like to put a little arrow at the end of it to show that I have moved it there. So here we go. So 21 cannot go into 5, but it can go into 56. I know at least 2 times. So 2 times 21 is 42. When I subtract right here, I get 14. Remember, drop a 0, drop it down, keep going. Well, almost 7 times, but not quite. It's going to go in 6 times. So that's going to be 126. And I'm going to have 14 left over. Now then, I can already see since I had 14 here and 14 here, this one is going to be what we call a repeating decimal. It's going to keep going on forever and ever and ever. So I'm going to look. I'm going to say this is 2.6 repeating. And if I do a negative divided by a negative, my answer is always positive. So I am positive that that is my answer right there. Okay. Final two problems. Here we go. These are fractions. Now it says, turn the mixed numbers into improper fractions, flip the second fraction, multiply the numerators and denominators straight across, follow the same sign rules as multiplication. All right, so we know what the same sign rules is. We've got that in our notes. Here we go. I'm going to use a little yellow. Okay, so here we go. I've got a negative 4/5 divided by, and I'm going to change this into an improper fraction. That would be 19/6. Now, when you divide by fractions, you are actually multiplying times the reciprocal. Now, a reciprocal means that we flip this fraction. So the numerator becomes the denominator. I'm sorry, the denominator becomes the numerator, and the numerator becomes the denominator. So this would be 6/19. Multiply it straight across. So this would be a negative 24. 5 times 9 is 45. That would be a 95. So this would be negative 24 over 95. Oops, and when I wrote this, I see I forgot a sign. I see I forgot a negative. So a negative times a negative is actually going to be positive. So the answer is 24/95 positively. There we go. Final one. I'm going to go ahead and convert into improper fractions. So 8 times 1 is 8, plus 7 is 15/8. That would be a negative 15/8. Divided by 12, 15/4. So negative 15/8 times 4/15. 15 times 4 is going to be 60. So that's negative 60. And 8 times 15 is going to be 120. Now, I'm going to show you a shortcut that I could use to work this problem that would make it much, much shorter. So let me write this down right here. I'm going to go to negative 15/8 times 4/15. Now this only works with multiplication. So these two numbers, when I look at the cross across here, so I'm looking across like this. 15 can go into 15 one time, so that'd be negative 1. It can go into 1 there. 4 can go into 4 one time, and 4 can go into 8 two times. So now then I've got negative 1 times 1, which is negative 1, and 2 times 1, which is 2. So my answer, without having to do any reducing, which I would have had to do right here, which is negative 60 over 120, is negative 1/2. And that makes sense because a negative times a positive is a negative. And a negative divided by a negative, or a negative divided by a positive is negative. So my answer is negative 1/2. Absolutely. Okay. Good luck in your future dividing endeavors.